Welcome everyone. Today's presentation is a case study on BMO, Bank of Montreal's Internal Audit Management Program. And today we have Irshad Ali with us. He's Director of Audit, Analytics, and Technology for the BMO Financial Group. Irshad has over 20 years of experience in financial services, the IT sector, with a focus on developing, implementing, and managing complex technology platforms across various North American and international bank and fillers, including personal and commercial, wealth management, capital markets, and corporate areas. Irshad is known for his strong leadership and consultative approach, having successfully delivered BMO's corporate audit technology replacement, the creation of business intelligence capabilities within two different BMO divisions, implementation of branch customer service applications, including retail, commercial, investment products, and rollout of an enterprise project management standard and process. Irshad has an MBA in financial services from Dalhousie University, a master's certificate in project management from York University, and is certified information systems auditor. So Irshad, welcome. Thank you for taking your time. And it's all you.
Thanks, Matt. Okay, so it looks like I got second to last graveyard shift, and I'm hoping everyone can stay awake a little bit, hopefully a little bit entertaining, and can keep your attention. I will say, yeah, 20 years at BMO sounds a lot. You're welcome to say you don't look like you've been working anywhere for 20 years. I'll take those compliments. The last 5 years were in the audit group. And I had like two portfolios, audit analytics and audit technology. And it's in the second portfolio, audit technology, that I was tasked with upgrading BMO's audit work paper system. And we did that obviously through MetricStream. So, use this clicker. I got it. All right, so why are we here? BMO upgraded its audit work paper system to MetricStream in 2016 and 2017. Projects, succeed or fail for various reasons. Audit technology is no different. What I want to show you and tell you is, what did BMO do to succeed? Sharing our challenges and how we overcame those challenges, and some benefits of our implementation that we gained. Hopefully, it gives you something practical, like I said. So let's get to it. All right, so this is the agenda. I want to give you a little bit of context about BMO, audit, and our project, the reasons for our change, our goals. And the next two topics are really the meat. I will say, I broke up, I guess my suggestions into two areas. One was managing the change, and one was executing the change. But again, very specific to things, we learned through our interaction with MetricStream. And then we'll go over the benefits, and we'll talk about how we did against those goals. And time for Q&A. I hope it won't take all the way till 4:40. I know everyone's tired from a long few days. Hopefully very beneficial. Sometimes I talk fast, so feel free to slow me down if you need to, or just interrupt and ask me questions whenever, because that way I can blame other people if I go over time. So a bit about BMO. All right, so our motto is making money make sense for our customers. We've been serving customers for over 200 years and counting. We were the first Canadian bank. We're a highly diversified financial institution. We're the 8th largest bank in North America by assets. We have total assets of $728 billion. We provide a broad range of personal, commercial, wealth management, investment banking, and capital market products to over 12 million customers. In the US, you may know us through BMO Harris Bank, which is a major Midwest bank, personal and commercial side, and BMO Private Bank, as well as wealth management. We've got offices across the US for that, and BMO Capital Markets as well. Cool. We're going to talk about the audit department a bit. And we've got 300 auditors globally. We're majority based in Toronto. We have significant auditors in Chicago and Milwaukee, and smaller offices in China and the UK. We implemented version 6, and the modules included the GRC library, audit scheduling, timesheet management, issue management, and I don't think I included survey on there, but that was part of it. We did annual planning in MetricStream in 2016 for the 2017 plan year, and we did the audit engagement in 2017. Timesheet we also did in 2016 as well, but that was aside. So our current state, the project has been implemented. We are, I would say, in business as usual mode. I recently started drafting a note to say that, and there were many, many learnings along the way, and that's what I'm here to share with you. So let's get, where are we now? That is great. So let's talk about the plan originally, because it didn't stay that way. But I did want to show you the original plan because the structure was good, and there were some elements that went over, as many projects do. But again, we'd covered most of our bases. 2015, we did a business case and tool selection, and MetricStream, came out on top, obviously. In 2016, that was when we did most of our major component implementations. Ours was an on-premise hardware. All those things were implemented in 2016, and we actually did the annual plan, created our annual plan in MetricStream for the 2017 plan year in 2016. In 2017, we started the audit engagements. Now, one of the changes was we actually ended up phasing this in. I think it was a good decision. We were planning for a 100% cutover in 2017, and we just found that in order to make sure our auditors are ready, a phased approach was much more useful, and so we did that over the course of 2017. All right. I went backwards there. All right, so that was the intro, reason for change, and our goals. So our technology was 9 years old at the time, and so now that would be, I guess, 12 years old. And if you can think of what our previous platform was like, if any of you remember Windows 3.1 or DOS command prompts, that's kind of where our, that's kind of the picture of our life in audit at the time. We wanted to improve efficiency. We had a lot of manual processes and sidebooks, including managing issues, rating area coverage, lots of other reports that were all kind of being done manually on the side. We wanted to standardize our workflows. We had a lot of inconsistencies across the audit teams, people doing things differently, even approvals. And a major point was integrating our annual plan with the audit engagement. So there was tieback and actuals we could get as a result. So those were a major component. The other one was advanced reporting capabilities, also departmental reporting as well as regulatory expectations, obviously increasing. We needed to be able to get more out of our data. We wanted greater configuration capability to adapt to those industry needs and a more flexible platform to adopt those changes. And there was a general desire for change, like a newer look and feel, obviously. Younger people were joining our division, and a lot of them don't remember 3.1 or DOS, so it was good for us to move along. All right, so the meat. I should just do that. You can do it. So managing the change, like I said, I broke these into two, managing the change and executing the change and sharing the challenges and how we succeed. I'd say that we succeeded based on two key pillars, foundations, I would say, in terms of change management. And we're going to look at those a little bit more, but they were both governance structure and our change management plan. But before I jump into those two, I'll talk a little bit about, there's going to be 4 challenges that I'll talk to. First is the change resistors. Now, there's 2 types of change resistors. We saw, those that just don't like change, and then those that may, not mind change, but just aren't great with technology. So in either case, go ahead, Matt. In either case, these, approaches were helped, right? So in terms of executive support, we needed executive support to make sure that auditors owned the fact that they had to change and move to our new system. We took a proactive approach with both the, don't like changers and the, not great with technology changers, identifying ways to help them, along. We escalated a lot when we needed to, and we're going to talk a little bit about training and support as well. But that was obviously critical to the not great at technology individuals. The next challenge, second challenge, audit team buy-in and availability. So even if they weren't anti-change, they needed to want to change for the future and also have the ability and time to do it. And so we, that was a challenge. And I'll say that, we did a lot of things to help that. We created subject matter experts or identified subject matter experts and change agents. They were the same people. They had specific skills, which we're going to talk about in order to effect the change. We wanted to involve them from the start, and we did. We had executive support, and actually it relates to the last piece. And if there's a piece that I can really suggest, to everyone that's going to go through something like this, make it part of your annual plan. There was a lot of time spent on, adoption, training, and especially for the SMEs as well. They had certain accountabilities we'll talk to in a bit. But that's key for them to, feel rewarded for the work that they do. This is not a side project. So those were definitely key. The third is sustaining the change. So it's not easy to embed new behaviors. A lot of our auditors, I don't know about your audit teams, but a lot of us were very tenured. People at the bank for more than 30 years, 40 years, that kind of thing. So obviously, new, and they were working on the same system for 9. So obviously that, it's a challenge in a lot of cases. And again, how to succeed on that front, tracking adoption and training and support plan. Like I said, we'll talk about that a little bit more as well. Finally, training. Now, I don't mean this from the perspective of, you have to do training. It was more that we didn't actually expect that we as a BMO needed to do as much as we ended up doing. And a lot of that was, when we spoke to our MSI partners in the beginning, they suggested, they have a training plan and those kinds of things, and it looked good. But when push came to shove, it just seemed like there was a lot for us to do, a lot more for us to do in order to make it successful. And we came to the realization that no vendor can really understand your business process as well as your own people, right? And so as a result of that, how do we succeed? We said, plan to do it yourself. Don't try to offshore that one. We said create a manual, and we had an internal person create a manual that they felt would identify the highlights that our own auditors would need. We had frequent and targeted training, and we created a super user, and this is another key takeaway I'm going to suggest. The super user is someone who can bridge the gap between the business and the functionality in order to be able to tell people what to do when they have questions. And and I say or two, because if you have one, then you've only got a single point of knowledge. And so I think that and if that person ends up winning the lottery or whatever, then you're in trouble. So we said have more than one. And again, we'll look at that a little bit of that super user role in a second. So I said when I referred to our governance structure as a key to success, it's really true. And you're hearing a theme, I think, across a lot of the presentations that are happening over the last couple of days around that. So the first level that we had in our governance structure, obviously, is the steering committee. And so this was obviously we had chief auditors and the assistant chief auditors from each of our pillars, and obviously MetricStream executives. And high-level responsibility was to oversee the project, assist with any issue resolution, and commit the required resources. But the biggest benefit we got from them was their sponsorship and their championing the change. If you don't have everyone aligned, then they'll find ways to kind of avoid the process that you're trying to put in place in the new technology. So it was critical that each of our executives was saying, it is this way or the highway. Let's get going on it. And we were lucky enough to have that. And I can't tell you how many times we were able to get through a lot of roadblocks just through a couple of easy conversations and emails, both from the MetricStream side and from the BMO side. The next piece was the core team. It's very helpful if this team understands the software delivery lifecycle, as you'll see. We had the team members who are a business lead. Again, I'm trying to give you some practical ideas in terms of how to structure a team to be successful in something like this. The business lead was something I used to describe my own role. We had a project manager and a business consultant, again, very critical to translating our business process and the available functionality into a great solution. We had a lead subject matter expert, and we had audit methodology representatives. We had the technology team at BMO, and then we had the MetricStream team. Obviously, that was day-to-day management. We worked towards day-to-day, consensus-based decision-making. And we assumed this core team would identify any issues that needed to be raised to executives, for example. And the final piece, I will say again, equally as important as the steering committee were the subject matter experts, and we ended up adding on the change management piece to them and had lots of training for these folks. Very essential to our governance structure. We had representatives from each pillar, and we needed them to make day-to-day decisions. Our chief auditor is obviously very busy. They participated in requirement sessions. They did all sorts of communicating with their chief auditors to make sure they were made aware of things that were important to them. And the last line is actually the biggest and I'd say most important. We needed them to be change agents, and we were very specific in how we recruited them. We wanted people that were motivated to change, but also sympathetic to the process disruption that was going to happen as a result of this. And that gave us a little bit of credibility and the ability for them to really tailor messages to their teams. This helped with making agile decisions, and it really helped with adoption in the long term. Questions there? Okay, so the change management plan, I told you I'd talk a little bit about that. It's really just 2 slides on this. Part of the change management is making sure you're going to tell a very compelling story. Our key message is give your auditors a vision and show them how you're going to get there. So the corporate audit change story, it answers questions like, why is it critical? Do we do this project? What are we doing about it? Who's going to be impacted? Everybody. How are we going to achieve this? When will it happen? And now what? What's in it for me? Or what do I need to do now? And we were looking at and updating that change story throughout the process, so people had a means to understand where they were, how they played into this change. And the other half of the change management plan, key message here is that have a very deliberate plan around change management. We looked at elements, all of these 5 pillars, were done sequentially, and some of them had overlap, but it was a multi-year process. Starting with awareness, a heavy amount of education and training, and then support and sustainment as separate project items to make sure that we were able to implement these. And I say along the top, communication around town halls, team meetings, dedicated SharePoint site, which are updating with FAQs, all those kinds of things were really important to get across our geographic base, as well as the numbers. So I did feel like a traveling salesman for quite a long time while I was talking this up and trying to drive adoption across, but I think it worked out in the end. All right, so this was probably in terms of sustainment and embedding behavior, one of the best things we ended up doing. So again, I'm sharing with you. We were hyper focused on support. The MetricStream sustainment, it had 3 streams from our perspective. And the first was the MetricStream process. It's the 4 questions like, how do I perform a specific function in MetricStream? Because it wasn't always intuitive to people. We had two pillars. One was around the annual plan and reporting, and one was around audit engagement. We had 3 levels that people could go to. Obviously, the first one to let them help themselves with a user manual. But we also had points of contact identified within the teams, and then overall leads. And the email support at the bottom, like I'll say audit.metricstreamsupport@bmo.com, was pretty essential. We ended up sourcing that for a period after implementation during sustainment, and that email was manned by our super user. Then they were able to get a lot of questions from across our divisions and answer them very quickly, or they'd take a call. And actually, for a time, we actually had a dedicated support room at our Toronto office, and for a little bit in Chicago, where people could just kind of come in and say, oh, I don't know how to do this, can you show me? So we spent a lot of time on that, and I have to say that it was a big reason for our success and adoption. All right, so we are getting through pretty quickly. You guys are a quiet bunch. Perhaps a little sleepy. So executing the project, again, sharing challenges and successes. Again, so I'm going to start with a foundational pillar. One is around the project team superstars. You need them. They are critical. It helps if they know the SDLC. But I do want to take a second, and I know there was a couple of MetricStream folks that wanted to be here today and actually couldn't. But I won't mention them by name, but they're critical to our success. So and our own BMO team, lots of late nights, long hours, pushing us through some of the very more difficult times. And so obviously they are a huge reason for our success. But I get to talk about challenges and how we succeeded. So I will say, so difference between expectation and reality. I say overall we were within budget, but definitely on the higher end of the range of both our timeline and our budget. We underestimated the amount of resources and time, and we overestimated the quality, and I'll tell you what that means in the next one. This doesn't look like the RFP demo. Like that was, there's an expectations and reality thing that a lot of people, I think go through. And, we saw the gap. We said, oh, we saw this demo and we had all these ideas of what it would look like, and then we got our implementation like, whoa, right? So what happened? So the how to succeed is a hard one. You will never know what you don't know. I did say hold vendors, MetricStream, accountable for the commitments they made. They held up their end. They did. So you want to tell them what your expectations were and make sure they're hearing that, because they always did aim to please and make sure that we got what we needed. You will need your superstar business consultants to translate business process into functionality to address those gaps, in a short order. So those were things that really helped. Next was quality. So don't assume that out of the box is just going to work. Defects. We had a lot of defects. I'm not going to give you the number, but it was definitely a lot. And a lot of them were caused by a lot of different things. We'll talk about how we succeed in a sec, but one of the pieces around vendor understanding your business isn't always common sense. There were so many times where our UAT testers would look at a defect and say, how is this possible that they missed this in testing? But we came to realize that everybody's business context is a little different, and common sense isn't necessarily common across like audit processes. So we learned to kind of give it the benefit of the doubt, and how we succeeded. So we at a reasonable point in time, we figured out we needed a more rigorous testing protocol, which meant a lot more of our own quality assurance testing and UAT. And those were critical. We wanted to have a consistent and detailed documentation. So we actually had a point where our BMO was creating one requirements document, and MetricStream was translating into something, and then they were delivering it. So it had a lot of overhead. Not necessary. I'd say find a way to just do one document everybody can work from. That's definitely a huge value add. And the last piece around show, go back up. So show and tells. This one, I'll tell you, saved our, skin a few times, and a lot more than a few times, I'll say. So what we did was, we kept finding that the deliveries that came, we'd get it in our UAT environment, and it would be like, no, this is not what I asked for. Or, you said you fixed it, but you didn't fix it. And, we had that enough that we said, look, I want to see this code and these fixes before you actually implement to our environment so we can save some of that. And I will say that just, that process evolved over time, and I'm going to say definitely do it. Make sure they do it through WebEx. It's great. It'll tell you the agenda, and make sure that, we go through all the defects. You can bring different people in to look at each one and make sure it's exactly what was required. And again, that ended up just cleaning up our process a lot, reducing the churn around defects and that kind of thing. So do show and tells for sure. The last piece here, or sorry, this is not the last piece, but the third, the project team. Superstars required, both MetricStream and Audit Group. It's not really about the fact that we had a great team. We did have a great team, but we weren't initially sourced well enough to, like I said, we talked about the defects. The speed of development and so forth, and again, we did this on version 6, and we are definitely the first Canadian bank to put this module in and so forth. So I figured there was a lot of learning, but again, we didn't have the right number of resources in place at the beginning, and again, our steering committee came through and really worked hard to get us what we needed and put us back on track. So again, make sure you do your diligence around those estimates. We're in the home stretch, guys, so feeling good here. So challenges, again, reporting. Why can't I see my data? Version 6, and what the heck's an infolet? Does anyone know what an infolet is? You heard that? You do, all right, somebody knows. Okay, so I didn't. So when we, again, this expectation from the beginning where, we had all this wonderful reporting, they were showing all these awesome dashboards and it looked great. And we get the delivery, and my reporting lead comes and says, "Well, how come I can't see this, or how do I see that?" And it was like, "Well, you need to develop this in your MetricStream reporting tool." And then we look at the MetricStream reporting tool, and you find out that it's not for beginner developers, right? It's not something that's all that easy if you don't understand the data model. And as a result of that, they said, well, there's these things called infolets that will show you the data in a summarized way, and we can help you create those. And so we figured that out, hopefully quickly enough. We got our own BMO reporting team to be involved, the analytics team as well, to understand the data model and start to getting that reporting out that we expected to get. So how do you succeed relates to validating those assumptions. Have your own reporting team involved early, and plan for a reporting server and platform early. I remember we had discussions early on, and I'm going to tell Nanda that I'm right when I said at the beginning that we needed a reporting server. And maybe there's some different options with M7, but certainly the inherent reporting. MetricStream is not billing itself as a business intelligence tool in terms of the audit module and the reporting module at the time of version 6. So, plan that, hey, if you do a lot of advanced reporting, then you're going to want something like that set up for you. So far, so good? All right. Configure versus customize. Oh, see, it's depending on the laptop, the slides were good or bad. And anyway, so does anyone know red, yellow, green? Have you heard that terminology? Red, yellow, green. Hands up if you heard that around configuration and customization. Yeah, well, there's traffic signals, but so when we talked to MetricStream, I said, what's that? Oh, no, okay, so all right, here I get to educate some people. So when we talk about configuration versus customization, one of the things we said to MetricStream as a goal was we want to stay as out of the box as possible so that we can take advantage of all your new amazing functionality that you're developing. So they said, great. And so here's how you can do that. We've got green upgrades, we've got yellow upgrades, and we've got red upgrades. And green upgrades mean that, configurations. And so green configurations means that your upgrade's safe. A yellow, a little shaky, it's an add-on type thing, and we're going to have to add it on back to whatever upgrades we do. And the red is a total customization and not upgrade safe at all. Right? So we said we don't want red, we don't even want yellow, we just want green, green, green. And we ended up staying true to that. I think we did. And we're, green on most. I think we had like 8 yellows or something like that, and no reds. And so I think that ended up working. I think proof is going to be in the pudding when Matt and company come back with their version 7 upgrade. But he knows my expectation now that it's going to be easy. And so I would say that the point though is that you try to stay out of the box. We had a lot of green configurations that we ended up doing, and so whether or not those green configurations are easily upgraded into version 7 is an outstanding question. Even if you do a yellow or a red, make sure that you get the MetricStream's commitment to keep that up through the upgrade process, and maybe that'll help you decide whether or not you really want to do it. And if they tell you, this is just not going to work in version 7, you're going to have to do a lot of re-coding and all that kind of stuff, then my suggestion is don't do it. All right. Yes, so understanding when you configure versus customize, get the vendor to agree on it before and make sure it's upgrade safe regardless of the color. Last thing around the business process being in flux. So that is hopefully not a huge issue, but I think it is actually a little bit of a reality. Usually you want your business process done before you do any technology upgrade. We tried to do that within BMO, and I think we largely got successful. There was a big piece of the process that was actually being changed as we were gathering requirements and stuff. It did cause a lot of flux and issues. So I would suggest to that in terms of our how to succeed, that make sure your methodology team's included in the project team so they can make quick decisions. Ensure that you have a solid change request process so that you can look at those changes to decide, based on how big they are and the impact that you're not going to, adversely impact a project, and lots of escalation. Right? If you need to, so if you don't want to do something that people are suggesting, then escalate. Okay, next. So yes, benefits. Home stretch, like I said. Benefits update. So I want to go back to look at each of the goals and how did we do against those. So upgrade 9-year-old technology. Yeah, we achieved that. We got a lot better, a better front end and a lot more functionality, which is great. Improve audit execution efficiency, reduce manual process and side books, and standardize our workflow. Yeah, I think we achieved that. Our approvals are consistently done within the system. We have issue management beyond the audit cycle. Our quarterly and annual reporting execution time has been reduced significantly. QA efforts have been redirected to higher value work due to a lot of workflow and system checks. And we continue to get a lot of benefit as our understanding of the system grows, and as the auditors understand more, we continue to advance in that front. In terms of implementing annual planning to replace, integrating the annual planning into the system, yeah, we achieved that, and lots of savings around that. I can't tell you, each of the audit teams coming up with their own way of forecasting their audit plans and having a central person trying to coordinate all those, and the multiple changes that happen every, on almost on a daily basis while you're in the thick of that planning process. We've definitely saved a lot of time there. Next. So almost there on reporting capability, I told you. So we, as we create these infolets, a lot of them are already done. There's one or two. There's one I think that's left around surveys. So we're almost there. I didn't want to say that we were done, but we've definitely got the foundation in place to do a lot more advanced reporting, and we're already starting to see the benefits of that as well. So greater configuration capability achieved. My administrator would want me to tell you that the configuration that's achievable with the help of MetricStream is obviously different from what they can do themselves as administrators. I think that changes a lot in version 7, but in version 6, definitely a lot of reliance on MetricStream, and they've been more than great at helping us out. But the checklist capabilities are easily configured. We have a lot more functional options, obviously, than our previous tool. And like I said, more to come in version 7, I'm hoping. And the general desire for change, the newer look and feel, yeah, definitely we achieved that. We had a lot of suggestions throughout, and again, I do believe this is addressed a lot in version 7, but the number of clicks in version 6, a lot. And we always made our point of saying, hey, you can do this in one click. Why do we have to go this way? And MetricStream would accommodate when they could. But like I said, I think a lot of the benefit from our learning is actually in version 7. So that's kind of where that standed. I had both Yo and Matt, try to corner me on my business case savings calculator. We business case that we would save 3 FTE in terms of a lot of the reporting efficiencies that we were going to gain. I actually think we're not fully there yet. I do think over time, as the auditors figure out what they can do in the system versus what they used to do, like a lot of them are still doing a lot of parallel work so they feel safe. That that's going to improve. I'm looking forward to that. So that was my presentation.